from the 25. Roethlisberger pulls it back, throws, has Juju Smith-Schuster. What a start to the night. One play, bang, touchdown
Steelers. The Eagles take over at the 17. Foles steps up. Foles delivers. Deep one-on-one. It's caught. Aguilar. Bye-bye. Touchdown. Eagles.
Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs. Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Heated Sports Football Podcast. Again, we have myself, Justin Imler, and Kevin Eagleson across from me. So, the NFL season is officially a quarter of the way in the books, and I don't like kind of using those fractions. I don't like thinking that we only have 3/4 of the season left, but 4 weeks are in. We kind of have a lot of teams hovering around that 2-2 range right now. So really still don't know what to expect to go for the rest of the season. But we're going to stick with some outside news here first before we start diving into some of the matchups. But news coming out today, wide receiver Stefon Diggs is reportedly not happy in Minnesota. Not many people in that offense are right now, I'd say, other than Dalvin Cook, who, I don't know about you, but I think he's playing like the best running back in football right now through 4 games. But, we've seen some reports the last couple losses from Minnesota, both wide receivers, Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs, not really being too, hidden with their displeasure so far with Kirk Cousins and the rest of the offense. But a lot of rumors going around that Stefon Diggs was kind of looking to get out of Minnesota, possibly requesting a trade, and it actually was confirmed here today that he kind of was asked about those rumors after practice, and here's what he had to say. So, tweet from Ian Rappaport on Vikings wide receiver Stefon Diggs. His frustration with the organization has been palpable. He was not at practice yesterday for non-injury reasons. Teammates are left wondering if he wants to be there at all. The team is adamant that he is not available for a trade right now, barring some massive deal. So this is coming after Stefon Diggs pretty much said in practice he was asked about these potential trade rumors if he's actually looking to be out of Minnesota by some reporters, and he pretty much said, quote, "There are some truth to the rumors," end quote. So really not going into too much detail, but obviously we know what these rumors are, what the reporter was referring to. Diggs obviously knew them as well, pretty much confirming that he's not happy in Minnesota. So what did you make with all this? Do you think a deal is actually going to be possible, or do you think he's kind of just going to be stuck with Minnesota and Kirk Cousins for right now?
Yeah, first of all, can't blame the guy. He's a very talented receiver, and through the first 4 games, I don't think he's even eclipsed 100 yards receiving in any of them. And just watching that passing offense, it's frustrating. They look awful, but I don't think a trade is going to happen in Stefon Diggs' near future. It's week 4. We got to give the Vikings offense a little bit more of an opportunity to try and get things going. It's week 4. Kirk Cousins is obviously off to an extremely slow start, but I think things can turn around here, especially this coming week 5. They have a matchup against the Giants, which I think is very favorable for the Vikings to pass on. Yep, I think this could be the week they kind of turn things around. Kirk Cousins, maybe he's actually able to get the ball to his receivers. They win the game more than likely, and maybe Thielen and Diggs both have a better mindset following this game against the Giants. I think this could be an extreme get-right game for the Vikings. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that this week.
Yeah. So just looking in the numbers here. So through going over each of the 4 games so far, Stefon Diggs has 2 catches for 37 yards, 1 catch for 50 yards, 3 catches for 15 yards, and 7 catches for 108 yards last week against the Bears. So pretty good performance last week against Chicago. But other than that, not too great. He also has 1 touchdown on the year. That 1 reception he had against Green Bay in week 2 was a touchdown catch, and then he has 2 fumbles as well going into the season. All right, guys, sorry about that. So we had a little technical difficulties there, but we're back and all everything's good now. So so just to piggyback off of what Stefon Diggs' stats are looking like, so he does have 1 touchdown. His lone reception in the game against Green Bay a few weeks ago was his only touchdown of the year, and he also has 2 fumbles to go along with his first 4 games. But again, he's kind of restricted right now with Kirk Cousins not playing very well. Minnesota obviously has a lot of money invested into him, so they're kind of stuck with Cousins for at least the next year and a half. But going back to Diggs real quick, I really don't think a deal is going to happen unless they for some reason receive an offer that blows everybody away in Minnesota. But so say on the small chance that something does get done, where do you think like a good fit would be, or where would you like to see him play the rest of the season?
I think this is the obvious choice here, but I can't say anyone other than the Patriots. They just have such a track record of just finding these star receivers and signing them on affordable deals because players want to play for the Patriots. Stephon Diggs, I don't think it's confirmed that he said he wanted to play for them, but he's been following Patriots players on Instagram. I saw.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
And yeah, honestly, it's a great fit. They had Antonio Brown, kind of their star number one guy, obviously not anymore. And Julian Edelman's been banged up through the start of the season, so he could be a little bit of a question mark going forward. And Josh Gordon is always uncertain. I hope he has a good season, but you never know with him and his history. Yeah. So yeah, Patriots, it's a Patriot thing to do. I don't want to say the Patriots, but it's just probably the most likely destination for Diggs if he somehow were to be traded. I don't think they give up a lot for him, but they do have the track record, and I think he'd be an amazing fit, especially with the aging Tom Brady in this Patriots offense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Bill Belichick memes on social media are amazing. Whenever a player of this caliber is unhappy in their current destination, especially on the offensive side of the ball, you just see Bill Belichick licking his chops, kind of waiting to see if they can maybe get him to come over to New England for a year or two. But I'm going to disagree. Not disagree saying that it's like a good fit. Obviously, anybody going to New England is going to be a good fit with how talented they already are. But I'll stick in the AFC East. Think of Buffalo right now. So I also used to mention about social media. So I saw some tweets where Stephon Diggs was actually following a few offensive players on Buffalo. Again, could mean nothing, but kind of just raises the question of like what he would look like in a Buffalo uniform. I mean, that's a team that's impressed a lot of people. Their defense stood up to New England pretty well the entire game last week, but the offense wasn't looking very good. I mean, they have Josh Allen, who did suffer a concussion, but it looks like he should hopefully be back in time for this Sunday. But, I mean, they have Josh Allen there. He's been playing really well. And then aside from some of their running backs and Frank Gore, Devin Singletary, when he comes back, the receiving core is kind of just full of like some average level players right now. Cole Beasley's been performing pretty well, getting consistent receptions, consistent yards. John Brown there maybe is like an average deep threat, but this offense could really benefit from a guy like Stephon Diggs in there. Kind of like a solid number one receiver for sure. I think we could both agree. And yeah, I mean, that would just kind of just up the ante a little bit for Buffalo there to try to compete with New England in that division. But I think, like we mentioned last week, definitely kind of solidifying them as a potential playoff like wild card threat, I would say, towards the end of the season.
It's an interesting destination for Diggs. I think so far this season, to me, Josh Allen hasn't looked good, and especially in this last game he played against the Patriots, he struggled. And I don't know, if I'm Diggs, you might kind of run into some similar problems there. But Josh Allen does have a lot of potential, and adding a deep threat like Diggs could make for a good match down the road. So, yeah, I wouldn't count out the Buffalo Bills. That's a good
I'll say it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm not really looking at the New England game too much. I mean, even Brady, like I had Brady and Edelman on my fantasy team, and I think they combined for like 10 total points. Like the New England offense did not do anything. They pretty much won the game by some defensive turnovers and a blocked punt return for a touchdown. Pretty much solidified them the victory. So pretty rough offensive performance on both sides there, but I like Josh Allen's potential, like you touched on as well. A young guy that's only going to get better, in my opinion. Bills Mafia is supporting him and behind him 100%. So I'd be excited to see just in general what Buffalo is able to do this year. But yeah, if they added a guy like Diggs, I mean, that just kind of sweetens the pot a little bit, I think.
It's kind of sad to see him leaving, or possibly thinking about leaving Minnesota too, just a year or two removed from the Minnesota Miracle. The guy's kind of a legend for that team, and just so soon he just wants out. It's kind of sad. I really like him as a player, but just wants to move on to better things, get the ball more. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. Just to wrap up this topic, so I mean, I think it could very well be a Jalen Ramsey situation. As you know, cornerback Jalen Ramsey for Jacksonville also requested a trade a few weeks ago, but he's still in Jacksonville right now. No deal has been deals have been offered, obviously, but nothing's been accepted on the Jacksonville side.
Surprising to me.
I'll say I think they're waiting for an offer that they feel is worth an all-pro corner in Jalen Ramsey, and I think Minnesota is going to value Diggs very similarly. It's going to kind of be a deal that's going to have to sweep them off their feet, and if none of those arise, then I think Diggs and Ramsey are just both going to be stuck right now.
Yeah, they don't want to trade these players. They're cornerstones of their franchise at this moment.
Exactly.
They don't want to give them up, but the players have other ideas. So unless they're offered something that kind of finally gets to them, they're really not going to budge.
Yeah, All right, yeah, so to transition here to one more other topic that we have before we get into some matchups is Oakland Raiders linebacker Vontaze Burfict receiving a full suspension for the rest of the regular season for we'll get into the argument later, but it ended up being a pretty bad hit. Helmet-to-helmet hit on Colts tight end Jack Doyle. And yeah, essentially they got the 15-yard penalty. He was removed from the game after the hit, and then just receiving a full year suspension on top of that a few days later. This is a guy that's very familiar with these types of suspensions, very familiar to this type of play. He's probably arguably the dirtiest player in the NFL currently in the NFL. Both of us being AFC North fans for Baltimore and Pittsburgh, we've seen a lot of Vontaze recently with him being in Cincinnati for most of his career leading up to this season with Oakland. But, I mean, what did you think? I mean, I'm sure you probably saw the hit. Do you think that this was a fair suspension for it being a guy like Vontaze Burfict? Because it actually is the longest suspension given for an on-field incident. So we've never had a suspension be for the entirety or for like the last 12 weeks of the season for an on-the-field incident, like for a hit like this, for a dirty hit, dirty play, something like that. So do you think it was fair to be given since it's a guy like Vontaze Burfict in his history?
I have a bad answer right here, but I don't know. I have no idea what to think of the situation. I don't think the NFL has ever had a situation with a player like this before, because these concerns with the head injuries, everything like that, is very recent. We haven't seen this in the history of the NFL up until recently. So Vontaze Burfict is really the first player that we've seen like this with the multiple incidents of the head-to-head injury. And obviously, being an AFC North fan, I've seen this guy play. I've seen the damage that he's done to other players, hurting them. And the first thing I want to say is, yeah, get him out the league, suspend him for the year. Just these guys shouldn't be playing. But the more I think about it, like, I don't know. It's a guy's career we're talking about here, and he made a mistake in a second. He's getting suspended for the season, possibly. I mean, that's significant. It's never happened before. So I don't know what to make of this. I'm torn both ways. I really hate the guy, but I don't want him to end his career, or I don't want the NFL to end his career over this hit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this suspension shows that they were looking into their reputation a little bit more. I think if this is any like average NFL player, I think it's just the average 4 or 6 game suspension, and then you call it a day. But with Vontaze and his repeated offenses of unnecessary roughness penalties, I think this is just kind of a statement for the league. This is showing where it's going. If Vontaze would return next year, I mean, I think he will. I think he's under contract for another season with Oakland. So if that's the case, then I'm sure he'll be back. But I mean, this season, I really don't feel bad for the guy. Jack Doyle ended up being okay. Like, it wasn't like a gruesome, like vicious hit, but it was a direct helmet-to-helmet hit. Vontaze Burfict just clearly going for the hit, leading with his helmet, nothing else. I mean, that's just textbook not roughing the passer, but just unnecessary roughness. So I don't feel bad for the guy. I'm not upset with the suspension whatsoever. And yeah, I think the NFL and Roger Goodell is just pretty much making a statement. It was no easier target than Vontaze with his repeated history, so I think it was an easy decision for him for sure.
You think the suspension is going to stand full rest of the season?
I think it will. I mean, of course he appeals it like right away, but it wouldn't surprise me. I think they're going to stick their foot in the ground, and they'll keep it for the remainder of the season. You can't make a bold move like that and then just kind of back up on it just because he appeals it. Like, I think that's going to be set in stone for this year.
Yeah, I agree. The guy, he really didn't help his case walking off the field, taunting the fans. Just didn't have an ounce of
waving at the Indianapolis fans as they're booing him off the field, just with a smile on his face. Like, that's not a great look.
Any regrets.
I don't need a guy like that in the league for sure. Okay, so I lied. So one more quick question, one more small topic before we dive into some matchups here for this coming week. 2 young quarterbacks kind of taking over the league in a sense for the starters who are injured. So we have second-year quarterback Kyle Allen for Carolina getting 2 wins back-to-back in place of the injured Cam Newton. And then we have the man. We have Gardner Minshew II for Jacksonville, also getting his 2nd win this past week for the injured quarterback Nick Foles. Both of these really interesting situations because both of these teams have a lot invested in the injured starters in Cam Newton and Nick Foles. So between these two situations, I mean, what do you make of them? I mean, do you think these guys will be pushing the starters like out of their jobs pretty much? I mean, what do you suspect here? What do you make of these two guys?
Such a tough situation. All right, yeah, we have an interesting situation here. Both these guys are playing very well, winning games for their teams, but I actually think that the outcome is going to be different. For the Carolina Panthers, I still think at this moment it's Cam Newton's team, and when Cam is healthy and ready to go, he's going to take over and be given another chance to see what he can do, because as recent as last year, we saw him playing at a very high level, so I still do think he has it in him. Kyle Allen might be a great future option for the Panthers, but as of now, it's Cam's team. He's proven himself. He's been an MVP. He's took him to a Super Bowl. When he's healthy, I do believe he'll regain his starting status. But as for the Minshew situation, I think it's different. We have Nick Foles, who's a first-year player for the Jacksonville Jaguars, still obviously a very talented quarterback, won a Super Bowl. But by the time Foles comes back, Minshew's already establishing himself as a front runner for Rookie of the Year. I don't think that's going to change by the time Foles is healthy and ready to go off IR. So if a guy's in the front runner to be Rookie of the Year, are you really going to pull him out if he's playing well, winning you guys games? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think Minshew, the Magic, will have to stay there for probably the whole season this year. I just don't see how you can take him out and lose that momentum. So yeah, to me, the situations, it's going to be different for each team. Panthers, Cam will come back and be the starter for that team, but I think Minshew's going to keep it going, and the Jags are going to let him.
But do you think Kyle Allen's at least proven that there should be a discussion? Like, do you think like it's going to at least be a debate? Like, if Cam's healthy and ready to go, do you think there's going to be a debate there, or what do you think?
It will be a debate, especially if Cam Newton comes back and can't play at the level that we think he can. If there's going to be an immediate question whether or not he should remain the starter. But I'm just saying, as soon as he's healthy, he's going to come back. He's going to be given a chance, which I don't know if Nick Foles will be given that opportunity. But yeah, going forward, the Panthers, I mean, it's not a bad situation to have. They have what was their franchise QB in Cam Newton, and they have a very talented, what could be the successor in Kyle Allen. So yeah, good situation for the Panthers. Also for the Jaguars with two young quarterbacks emerging here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just touch on this real quick before we transition. I mean, the Jags just gave Nick Foles a hefty contract. That'd be really my only argument. I mean, they're going to use Nick Foles. Now, depending on what his recovery is going to be like for this season, he might not be fully healthy once he's off of IR. So if that's the case, they'll probably keep Minshew in there if he's continuing this level of play. But if that's the case, then Minshew will probably stay. But I mean, you can't give a guy 4 years, $88 million, and then just not play him at all because this young guy came in. I don't think Minshew's lighting it up on like a Patrick Mahomes level or anything like that. I think Foles still is going to get a shot, whether it's the end of this season or if it's like or if it just maybe just starts fresh next season and just see how Minshew does the remainder of the year. But like you said, both of these guys are young guys, so regardless, they can still hang out and just be backups for these two guys for the next few years, see how the starters play out when they're healthy. And then you got these two guys in your back pocket. So
yeah, agreed. Good situations for both the teams, and excited to see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so now we're going to get into the back half of the show. So we're just going to go over some Week 5 matchups. But first, I want to talk about our upset picks last week because we were both right for the first time this season. You picked, or sorry, what was your pick? You had it was the Panthers, right?
Carolina
so we were just talking
Panthers
about
over
Kyle Allen.
Yeah.
So you were a believer in Kyle Allen last week. So they upset the Houston Texans, who that's just another offense that just looks just completely lost right now. Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins really not connecting the last couple games. Really just looking rough, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But yes, that was your pick. You got correct. Kyle Allen and the Panthers upsetting the Texans. Last week, I picked the Oakland Raiders to travel into Indianapolis and upset the surging Colts. So both of those upsets happened. I mean, were you surprised? I mean, I know we made these picks, but like, are you kind of worried about the Texans right now, or are you kind of just more impressed with the Panthers getting that win?
Yeah, I'll start off with that Panthers game that I took as my upset of the week. And I think going into that game, it was definitely an upset in my opinion, but leaving the game, if they were to play again, I think these are evenly matched teams. If not, the Panthers are better, but I'm worried about the Texans. You asked me. Their offense does not look good. Their offensive line needs to figure it out soon. Deshaun Watson is getting hit and sacked and hurried and just hasn't looked good. He's been missing throws, deep throws to Will Fuller. DeAndre Hopkins has been almost non-existent since the first game. And they're just trying to run this offense through Carlos Hyde, which doesn't make sense. The offense is losing its identity, and it's showing. They scored 10 points against the Panthers. They are a good defense, but they were starting Kyle Allen. But yeah, Panthers, like I said, I was riding the Kyle Allen train. Also, Christian McCaffrey is probably the best running back in the league right now, in my opinion. And the 16-10 win, not really pretty, but they came out on top. But
yeah, they got the job done.
Just want to move on really quick here. Props to you with the Raiders over Colts, because
thank you.
that is a legitimate upset. Mine was kind of I would say close. Yours, that's a true upset. The Raiders over the Colts, I did not believe in the Raiders at all, and I was high on the Colts. I think Brissett is great, and I think overall the Colts have such a complete roster. I didn't see this one coming at all. When you said that, I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's interesting because I've been, like, a very weird believer in the Raiders this year. I mean, I don't love them. I don't think they're going to be, like, a playoff threat this year or anything, but I like the pieces they have on offense. Traveling into Indianapolis, I knew T.Y. Hilton was kind of banged up, so that kind of, like, swayed, like, the pick a little bit as well, but I don't know. I'm trying not to be a Jacoby Brissett hater anymore because he has impressed pretty much everybody this season so far. But looking at the matchups last week, I mean, I thought there was a lot of like very one-sided matchups. Not really too many that were kind of 50-50 or that could have some potential upsets there. But yeah, I liked your pick as well. I was looking at Carolina. Kyle Allen has looked really good. But yeah, after you picked that one, I mean, I was kind of just going high on the Raiders one more time. I picked them 2 weeks ago. They kind of let me down, but yeah, I rolled with them again and got the win this time. So
bold move, trusting them 2 weeks in a row. Paid off though.
Yep, no, that's literally what I said. I said if they let me down again, I'm never picking them for an upset again, which they're most likely going to be like the lower team in most of their matchups. So, but yeah, they got the win, so maybe I'll come back to them again at some point. But yeah, still like Josh Jacobs a lot, so I'm excited to see. I mean, they play the Bears this week. Don't really think that offense is going to be able to do too much this week, but still excited to watch some of those young guys play the rest of the year. So we're going to get into week 5 now. Really not going to touch on week 4 at all because we're kind of behind this week. This is going to be going up Friday. So just to preview some week 4 matchups. First things first, I always like doing this when we're a little late. So Thursday night matchup, Rams-Seahawks. Going to be underway in about a half an hour from when we're recording this. So let's just see who knows what they're talking about. What do you make out of this game? What's your pick? Who do you like? Rams at Seattle.
I feel like finally I'm excited for a Thursday night game. They're pretty much playing for first place in the division. I don't think 49ers are the best team there. So it should be a good one. I think both teams are going to play really hard. And I think the Seahawks are going to come out on top. They have the worst roster, but Russell Wilson is miles so much better than Jared Goff. And I just think he's going to pull this one out on Thursday night. Todd Gurley's just not the same as he used to be. And I don't really believe in Jared Goff that much, especially playing against the Hall of Fame talent that is Russell Wilson. Should be a close matchup, though. I think Seahawks just sneak it out at the very end.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I definitely think it's a toss-up, and yeah, probably by far the best Thursday night matchup. The one we had last week, Philly over Green Bay, that was a really good game as well, but I think I like this one a little more. But no, I mean, give me the Rams. I mean, the Rams are off of a very disappointing matchup, almost embarrassing matchup, giving up 54 points to the Tampa Bay Bucks. They're going to be out for revenge, the defense especially. I like Russell Wilson. Obviously, we've both talked about him a lot on the show, but other than him, they're kind of lacking on the offensive side of the football. The receivers, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, really not performing overwhelmingly well so far. Running backs, Chris Carson. I like Chris Carson, but he's been kind of disappointing the last couple weeks. Had some fumbles so far in the 4 games so far this season. So give me that Rams offense, and I think the defense will kind of be looking for some redemption this week. I will say, though, the home field advantage for Seattle is probably one of the best in the league, so that kind of like concerns me a little bit with my Rams pick, but I like the upset. I mean, I think that could potentially be an upset depending on how you look at it, but definitely a really even game for sure.
Russell Wilson, I just think it's worth noting, is having an incredible season. He's, I believe, really going to give Patrick Mahomes a run for his money as far as the MVP goes.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I saw like ESPN put an article out, some of like their top MVP candidates so far. Mahomes, Dak, and Russell Wilson came in at 3. So those 3 guys obviously lighting it up this year.
If I had to pick one right now, I'd go Russell Wilson.
Taking Wilson first?
Yeah. I was defending the guy, I believe, a couple months ago when he got his mega extension. And, yeah, everything I said about him turns out to be true. This guy is insane, and he's doing it with probably the worst receiving core he's ever had.
Yeah. All right, yeah, so I just want to touch on this. I'm not going to go too in-depth or anything, but the 2 young quarterbacks we were just talking about, Gardner Minshew and Kyle Allen, they're actually matching up this Sunday in Carolina. So that'll be a fun game that I'll definitely look to watch, keep up with, because, yeah, I like both of these guys. Gardner Minshew's an animal. He's the ultimate football guy. Everybody's kind of running or just wrapping themselves around him, so I'd be excited for that one too. But another one that I want to ask your thoughts on because I'm kind of curious. You were kind of hyping up the Colts. I mean, you've been high on the Colts all year. Sunday night matchup, Colts in Kansas City. You give them any shot to take on Mahomes in Kansas City at home?
No.
Plain and simple.
I don't think they will. Yeah, it's plain and simple.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna put up some numbers. They're gonna score a decent amount of points, but they're not gonna be able to keep up with the Chiefs. There are very few teams that can. Shout out to the Lions, by the way. I wanted to bring up the Lions on this show.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there is not a team that I was more wrong about prior to the season starting than the Lions. I was predicting them to be a bottom, 25 down team.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to be
bottom tier for sure.
Bottom tier. I thought they were going to be bad, and here they are keeping up with the Chiefs. Should have won that game if not for 2 red zone turnovers. One of them turned into a 99-yard touchdown for the Chiefs. It's incredible how good the Lions are compared to my expectations for them. Just thought that was worth mentioning. But Colts, yeah, they're a good team. They're not going to be able to stop Mahomes, and Brissett's not going to be able to outsling him.
Outduel him, yeah. I mean, that's the first game in Mahomes' career where he didn't have a touchdown, rushing or passing. So, I mean, that alone is pretty incredible and definitely something to keep an eye on. But, yeah, the Detroit looks great. I'm agreeing with you. I wasn't very high on them at all. Looking really well so far. They have a bye week, though, this week. So, we'll have to look forward to their matchup next week, and we'll definitely talk about it on next week's show. But one other matchup I want to touch on, a 425 matchup, Green Bay at Dallas. Green Bay coming into town to try to take on the Cowboys. Both of these teams coming off a pretty rough primetime loss last week, with Green Bay losing to Philly on a last-second interception by Aaron Rodgers, and Dallas just completely looking terrible on offense against New Orleans in New Orleans last Sunday night. So, which one of these two teams do you think maybe redeems themselves and gets the win this week?
Yeah, I'm looking for
Green Bay doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins this week. It doesn't look like he's going to play. I'm not sure if you saw that. Or Devontae Adams, yeah. So, sorry. The other top receiver. But
that's true. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, so he suffered a turf toe injury, I guess, late in the game against Philadelphia last Thursday. So, right now, at least, reports that he hasn't really practiced too much. Doesn't look good for Sunday. But either way, I mean, do you think Packers get it done, or do you like Dallas?
That's tough. I was about to say Packers no-brainer because I wasn't thinking about Devontae Adams. But I'm excited for this matchup, nevertheless, because it's just another opportunity for the Cowboys to play a legitimate team. I think they've been extremely overhyped through the first few weeks of the season. So they're playing a better team and a better defense than the Packers. It'll be more of a test. We can see what the Cowboys are actually made of. So I'm going to choose the Cowboys in this one just because Rodgers is going to miss Devontae Adams. He went off for 10 catches, 180 yards last week. And besides him, I don't think they have any real receiving threats that like Devontae Adams. They don't have anyone like that. Their run game hasn't really proven themselves so far in the season. And I think the Cowboys, they get a little bit more back on track here. It is going to be a tough win for the Cowboys, but I think they pull it out. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think if Adams was there, I would definitely lean towards Green Bay.
Me too.
Yeah, 10 catches, 180 yards last week. But, I mean, I think they have, some average receivers behind him in Valdez-Scanning, Geronimo Allison. They're definitely not bad, and they've shown some flashes. But if they're Rodgers' top options, I'm just not sure if they'll be able to get it done. Because other than last week, this Dallas offense has looked really good. Like we just said, Dak is in conversations for MVP this year. Zeke Elliott, he's only going to get better as he gets more and more playing time after his offseason holdout.
Amari's playing very well too.
I'll say Amari looks really good. So, I mean, give me Dallas at home. I'd probably take that one as well. So before we get into our upsets of the week, I just want to go rapid fire here. I'm going to give you some matchups. Let me know what you think. Cardinals-Bengals, who gets their first win?
Cardinals easily.
Bengals look completely terrible. Daniel Jones, can he get it done against Minnesota at home this week?
Thinking about this one for the upset of the week, but
all right, I won't spoil anything.
No, I'm actually going to go with someone else. I'm going to say no. Vikings take it. I think, like I said earlier, Vikings get their passing attack a little back on track.
Yeah. Philadelphia and Jets. Sam Darnold's finally back and he's healthy for mono. Jets still stand a chance, or is Eagles running away with this one?
Yeah, not quite. If Darnold was healthy, I might pick the Jets just because the Eagles secondary is decimated. I think Darnold would be able to take advantage, but just because it's his first week back, hasn't practiced or played in a while, I think it's Eagles easily.
Yeah. That's really all I got. All right, here, one more. Give me Bills-Titans before we get into the upsets, because I kind of like that matchup. You think the Bills bounce back?
I do not. I think the Titans take this one.
Yeah.
Two really good defenses and two kind of up and down quarterbacks, so I think we might see some turnovers, a little bit of an ugly game here.
Yeah.
But I think overall Titans, they have the better run game in Derrick Henry. and a more complete team. So I think they're going to beat the Bills easily.
All right.
I said easily for all of those, but
not a big deal. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. Some pretty good matchups this week. So now we're going to wrap up with our upsets of the week. I've been saving this matchup specifically because I knew this was my upset. Pittsburgh is going to beat the Baltimore Ravens this week. So
gross.
That wasn't yours?
No.
Okay. All right. I knew you were going to say gross, so I would have been surprised if you agreed with me. But Pittsburgh's at home. Baltimore's kind of been struggling the last couple weeks. Offense did not look good against Cleveland last week. And I think Pittsburgh's defense is pretty significantly better than Cleveland's defense so far this year. Take away that first putrid game that Pittsburgh had against New England. Last 3 matchups, their defense has held up very well, forcing a lot of turnovers. I think they might be leading the league in sacks this year as well, or they're definitely up there in those top couple teams. So give me Pittsburgh this week. I mean, if Mason Rudolph, if they play that style of offense they had last week, throw some wildcat, just throw some random stuff in there, keep the defense guessing the entire game. I think regardless, the game's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a Baltimore blowout. But I mean, yeah, Pittsburgh has home field. That kind of gives me a little more confidence. But yeah, I'm trying not to be biased there. But I think regardless, it'll be a good divisional game. But I think that could be a decent upset.
It's crazy. It's going to be probably the first game in a while we don't see any of those icons from either franchise.
Yeah.
Big Ben Roethlisberger,
on both sides of the ball.
AB,
yeah.
Le'Veon Bell, and then Suggs. Just all those guys are gone. It's a new era for both teams, but no chance the Steelers win this one.
No chance.
No.
Wow.
I'm excited for this one because it's a get-right game for the Ravens. Get back on track here. And now for my upset of the week, it's becoming that there's a lot of pressure on these upsets of the week, being undefeated and all. Haven't predicted all of them successfully, but I feel really good about this one too. We have the Buccaneers over the Saints, and I think this is gonna be a significant upset. The Saints, if you look at almost any power rankings online, they're a top 5 team, maybe even top 3. I've seen them at 3.
Yeah, I'll say we have them in our top 5 right now as well. Yeah, so I mean they definitely kind of impressed a lot of people after shutting down the Dallas offense last week.
So yeah, they're a legitimate NFC contender, if not the best team in the NFC, which a lot of people think they are. But the Buccaneers are a team that I am really starting to like. I think they're going to come in here after beating the Rams. They're going to follow it up and beat the Saints. People are high on the Saints right now. They're like, oh, Drew Brees, they got Teddy Bridgewater, and they can still pull it off. What a great team. Pump the brakes. The Buccaneers are going to slow that train and beat the Saints. It's not going to be as high scoring as last week, and I think Jameis Winston is able to pull it off. He's had a couple of good games in a row, and I think he keeps it going here. And I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to keep up with Jameis.
Yeah.
Something you'll hear every day.
I don't hate it. I was looking at it a little bit, but I mean, ultimately, I kind of mentioned that home field advantage in the Superdome in New Orleans. I think they obviously had that again this week with Tampa Bay. I would definitely pick the Saints. I would pick them confidently, but I mean, yeah, Tampa's kind of been putting up some numbers. Jameis hasn't looked too bad. The defense is still kind of my main concern. They have a few playmakers there, but I mean, yeah, Bridgewater hasn't been putting up crazy numbers. But you still got Alvin Kamara, you still got Michael Thomas, some pretty significant playmakers. I mean, I think if anything, it'll be kind of more on like the high scoring end. I don't think it's going to be as low scoring as what Dallas and New Orleans did last week. Yeah. Was it like 14-12 or something like that?
Yeah,
like a pretty rough,
touchdown.
Yeah, pretty rough offensive game there. But yeah, I don't hate it. I still think Pittsburgh's going to get the upset though, so I don't hate that pick whatsoever. But
now, main thing,
I'm excited.
Buccaneers' run defense is legit, so I think they're going to slow Kamara down and they're going to force Teddy Bridgewater to throw it.
Yeah,
which
he hasn't really shown he can like sling the ball and put the team on his back and kind of just
would make me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. So that's where we're going to end it. So that's kind of our analysis of some events happening outside of these matchups, previewing Week 5, and then our upsets for this week as well, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to end it there. Make sure you check out the bio. We have our official power rankings that we update every single week, as well as the Heated Sports website where you can see other articles that we're posting all throughout the week, and our 2 social media accounts on Twitter and Instagram, so you can keep up with everything that we're doing. Thanks so much, guys, and yeah, we'll be right here next week, so stay tuned. Have a good one, guys.